Hello, everyone. So glad you could join me. Let me know if you can see and hear me and all that good stuff. So we're going to talk menu planning today and the menu planning strategies that are working for me right now. And you can also share in the chat what menu planning strategies are working for you right now. It's the start of a new school year. If you can't, then try reloading, but of course you can't hear me. So let me type that in. All right. So we're going to talk menu planning and the strategies that are working because it's a new school year. So it's time to try something new, right? To make sure that there's some kind of plan in place for meals. And you do need to plan all the meals. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but all the meals need planning, not just dinner, because it turns out that these people want to eat 3 times a day or more, right? So we need to make sure that when they ask what's for breakfast, what's for lunch, what's for dinner, that we have something for them, right? And it's harder. It seems like that should not be so hard, but it is. So share your favorite strategies or what's working for you right now in the chat, and I will share what is working for, or more times. So what's working for us right now is having a regular meal rotation. So I think this is pretty typical for things like breakfast. For years, we just did one breakfast. It was just oatmeal almost all the time. Pancakes on Saturday, something, either pancakes or maybe something special on Sunday. But weekdays was all oatmeal. And that was a great way to simplify when everyone was little. Everyone just kind of ate what I put in front of them. Babies can eat oatmeal. You don't have to have teeth to eat oatmeal. It worked. We started, as Don Garrett puts it, upping my breakfast game. And now we have 2 breakfasts in a week. So, right, that's improvement. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we do granola. And when it gets cold, we might switch that to oatmeal. Many people love granola so much and are pretty ambivalent about oatmeal. So we might just keep granola year round, but usually we switch and do granola in the summer and oatmeal when it's cold out. We'll see if we switch. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday is granola. And Tuesday, Thursday, we do German pancakes. So that's like an egg sort of, and there are multiple different versions. I think it's also called Dutch Baby. I have a friend and she makes a Finnish version, but it's all, more than half egg, a little milk, a little flour, and it heats in a hot oven with butter. So, yes, and all the menu planning is done on Google Calendar. It's because then you can drag and drop things, and then you can also remember that those meals are a planned part of the day. So they're events to prepare for just like anything else. So we do that kind of planning for meals like breakfast, where it's like, okay, well, just every Monday we're going to have granola. Every Tuesday we're going to have German pancakes. So we see how that helps the decision fatigue, and that helps us to know what we're about those mornings and to get started before the day has really started. We know what we're going to be doing, and that's helpful. So I started applying that even to dinner, and it's been super helpful. For actually more than a year now, we've been doing chicken on Mondays. Now the chicken might be prepared differently. In the summer, it's always grilled because then my husband does the cooking. So we'll do grilled chicken on Mondays in the summer, all summer long. In the winter, I might do baked chicken or I might do skillet chicken, but it's chicken. I need to pull out of the freezer. I know what we're going to eat. I know I need some kind of vegetable side and some kind of starch side. And I'm going to sneeze now. Oh. Yeah, you don't need to start the day with decision fatigue. And sometimes you have to make those decisions for dinner in the morning because you need to pull something out of the freezer or you need to get something going in the crock pot. So even dinner, it helps to start the day with that plan and know what you're going to do. And of course, you can have the plan on the calendar or wherever where you can see it. But even just having it where it's already in your head, you don't even have to look at a list. I mean, it's on the list, of course, but Monday, grilled chicken. Even my husband knows now. So he came up, yes, we actually had leftovers that we needed to eat. So we didn't do it yesterday, but he came up, he said, okay, so where's the chicken to grill? It's just part of the routine now for Mondays. And so that has been working for us for over a year. And as I was putting together menu plans for the start of our school year, I started to think, well, how can I take this to the next level? Like, this is really working. How many days of the week can I do this for and still have everyone be happy? And so I asked each person what, like, if there was one dinner and you had to eat it every week, which dinner would you hope it was? And so you kind of got ideas for people's favorite dinners. The convenient thing about something like chicken is that there are several ways to prepare it. They can be grilled or baked or cooked on the skillet. But it's also generally marinated or has some kind of sauce. And even though the cooking is the same, the process is the same, you vary the taste by varying the sauce. So it doesn't feel like you're eating the exact same thing all the time. And then you can serve rice with it, or you could serve noodles with it. You could do biscuits with it. So it doesn't actually feel like eating the same meal every Monday. You have the ease of the decision already being made and the process super familiar without that feeling like you're eating the same thing all the time. So I started to think, all right, how can I apply this even more and more to our dinner plan? So the decision's just made, I can just roll with it. And, when it's cold in the winter, I do that with soups. At least one day, probably two, will be a soup dinner. And so that's the same sort of thing where I know I'm putting a soup in the crock pot, but everyone doesn't feel like they're eating the same thing because there's so many different soups. So soup is one option, but we're not going to eat soup when it's 90 degrees outside. And we, when I was making this plan about a month ago, I knew we still had at least a month, if not more, of over 80-degree days where I just could not serve soup. So I found the different dinners that work for our family and that also have the added bonus of teaching my kids how to cook more intentionally, because when you're cooking the same thing over and over, you get more familiar with it than when you're just one-off, reading a recipe and doing it. It takes practice to learn how to do something. So the kids have different dinner days. My older two, who are 14 and 12, have Tuesday. One of them is Tuesday, one of them is Thursday. So I asked them, what dinner would you like to learn how to get better at? And would you like to eat every week? And they each pretty much have two, but they're very similar. So one of them is doing potato, either hash, which is like chopped up potatoes, and ground beef, sometimes sausage, but usually just ground beef, whatever vegetables we have, onions or peppers or zucchini, anything that can be kind of sauteed, might go in there. So it's a little bit different all the time, but there's the whole process. There's getting way better at cutting and knowing what ground beef looks like when it's browned all the way. And so we're having hash, which is a dinner that everyone in the family likes. It's hash every other week. And then on the other weeks, it is, it's called bangers and mash. So I don't actually know where that comes from, but a friend's family calls it that. And so my kids call it that. So it means sausage and mashed potatoes. So then he's learning how to make mashed potatoes. And then we either grill the sausage or bake them. And so it's always kind of a potato-ish dinner on Tuesdays with beef or sausage or some kind of meat. All right, Liz got it. It just helps to know. And then he knows, and he's my dinner helper for that day. So he gets things started and rolling. And he even peels the potatoes, which is above and beyond what I would do. So then that super helps. And my other son, actually, I moved him. He's Fridays because we needed to do something super quick on Thursdays. So Fridays, he's doing pasta. And he'll switch between a creamy chicken pasta and we call it not spaghetti. It's basically spaghetti, but I have people in my family that say they don't like spaghetti. So we just use a different kind of noodle and use diced tomatoes instead of tomato sauce. And then suddenly it's okay, especially if you put olives in it. So that's our not spaghetti. Oh, that is good, the chicken sausage, but my husband would revolt. We did chicken sausage, not sausage. Like I said, I'm already feeding him chicken reliably every week. So got to give him a real sausage day. And just the mental exhaustion is kind of eliminated out of the menu planning process because, the decisions are made and I already know what needs to be done. Oh, he would know. So because I know, okay, I know about how much time each is going to take. So I know on each day, when do I need to start dinner on this day? I don't have to look at see what's for dinner. We've got children trying to Slack me messages. There we go. So what dinners take a different amount of time to cook? And then what time do you have on the different days of the week to cook? Like, some days if you're really busy or you're gone out of the house until dinner, then that needs to be the crock pot day. And you can take it a step further and say, well, it's not just crock pot day, it's going to be a roast in the crock pot or a soup in the crock pot. So you just have, then what kind of sides need to go with it, or then just the kind of ingredients you have to have on hand. And so with this kind of rotation where it's the same kind of things, but it's not the exact same thing every week, we kind of get the best of both worlds with the ease, the mental relief of doing the same thing over and over. So you get better, you get faster at doing it. So dinner doesn't take quite as long even because you just get really good at doing it. And you don't have to rethink, when to start, what to do. You could just do it. But then you also have the benefit of eating different sorts of things, different sorts of flavors or combinations. And so it's super helpful. I know lots of families do something similar with like a Taco Tuesday or Pizza Friday. It's the exact same thing. So what meals would your family eat over and over, but that still support some kind of variation? So it's really not the exact same thing. It's just the same preparation. So you get that faster, easier, less stress approach. And yeah, it makes grocery shopping so much faster because I've picked these dinners already and scheduled them for one interval. We were testing this out. We're halfway through the interval and it's working, I'll say, swimmingly for Liz. And so I bought all the sausage, I bought all the chicken that we'll need. So all the meat has been purchases in the freezer. So it's just really restocking the milk and vegetables and that sort of thing each week now, because I put that plan together. It's planned out for 6 weeks. And it's not the sort of thing where it's like, now what was that dinner this week? It was kind of weird and I'm going to have to read that recipe again. Nope, it's just the same thing. I've done this a million times. I'll do it a million times more. Super easy. I can do it with, as let me show my childhood. I can do it with half my brain tied behind my back. So yeah, that's awesome. So Stephanie says she has a spreadsheet with each theme night listed and then 3 or more recipes under each theme, so you can just rotate through. So yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about here. And simplified dinners can make that super easy too, because all of the menu, all of the dinner options there use the same pantry list. So you're really just shopping from the master pantry list, and then you can make anything in the cookbook. And simplified dinners is set up this way because you have like roasts on one page, crock pot soups on one page, fast stovetop soups on one page, pizza on one page, with variations. So there's really one process and then just different sauces to put on it, which all really follow the same basic process, even if they're different sauces. So just thinking about dinner that way makes it so much easier, not just because you can make that menu plan quickly or for a whole 6 weeks at a time, which is what I did. I did menu plan for the whole interval. And it makes dinner itself take less time to prepare because these are all dinners that you've done so many times. You get better and faster at it. It makes grocery shopping take less time. It reduces the number of time the kids ask what's for dinner because it's like, oh, right, it's Monday. They know, but I'm not sure that's actually worked. It seems like it should be true, but they'll still ask what's for dinner. Yes, so I do menu plan for the whole interval, and using Google Calendar, I just use the repeat function, which is another way it makes it faster. So like for the whole 6 weeks, I know we'll be able to grill for this whole term through October. We'll be able to grill. So for Mondays, grilled chicken, biscuits, salad, and then hit repeat 6 times on Mondays, all filled in. You can also have Google Calendar repeat every other week. So I have the chicken pasta and the not spaghetti kind of alternating on Fridays, and it just filled out really quickly. Then at the break week, I'll reevaluate and see which options worked for us. Which do I want to keep? Do I get to replace any with soup yet? And yes. Oh, nightshade free plan. That one's tricky. But, if you have different sauces, you can't do tomato sauce, but you can do creamy sauce. But you can't do creamy sauces. You're dairy free also. So you just have pasta with salt. Yeah, that's tricky. And of course, like rice pasta. You better leave off the pasta and the pizza, and you can eat beans and rice. Lots of variation for beans and rice and maybe lentils. So, and you just get into the routine at the grocery store we still don't have grocery delivery in my town. So I'm super jealous. But you just get into the routine, because I did this not only for the main dish, but also for the vegetables. So it's like, okay, these are the vegetables that we all actually eat and like. And so one of the days is going to be roasted broccoli, and one of the days is going to be salad. And one of the days is actually going to be coleslaw, because I can chop up that whole cabbage and some carrots and put a dressing on it, and we can have that for dinner on Monday when I have a little bit more time for dinner. And then it makes more than we eat in one dinner, and it also keeps really well. So then the extra goes into the fridge to pull out on Thursday, our super busy day. So I have a freezer meal and coleslaw from Monday left over. And when there are contingencies built in like that, I was like, okay, if I don't make that coleslaw here on Monday, then that throws off my Thursday plan. That helps me actually keep the plan and not decide, well, but I don't feel like doing it today, so I'm going to do something. I'm going to use the broccoli today. And I like to switch things up like that. So building in contingencies like that helps me actually stick to the plan, because I know, no, there's a reason why I put it on this day, and I'm going to stick to it and actually do it. One day we have roasted root vegetables as our side dish. And when we have there's always the question, what do you do with leftover vegetables? A lot of them are not good the next day. They just don't reheat very well. So if we have roasted root vegetables, which it turns out that most of the kids like most of them, especially if a sweet potato is mixed in there, I can freeze the leftover, just however much. I have a Ziploc, and whatever each week, the leftover roasted root vegetables just go straight into that Ziploc bag. And then in the winter, when it's the wonderful soup season, all I have to do is pull out chicken broth and pull out my Ziploc of roasted root vegetables, put the two together, and I have roasted root vegetable soup. So those kind of things where it's not only saving me time in preparation now, and also in grocery shopping, because now I just go into the grocery store and do my loop. I grab some broccoli, I grab a couple turnips, a couple parsnips. I'm still kind of figuring out which ones people like, a sweet potato, and I know we're going to eat them, and I know that I'm not buying vegetables that look good at the store, but we aren't actually going to eat. And so that helps a lot. And then I know that I'm also kind of giving myself a little shortcut for the future, which is super helpful. Because I know, in the winter, there are going to be days where I don't feel well, we're going to be sick or something. And I know that I have pieces of dinner that I'll be able to pull out. And it wasn't any extra work. What it actually is just frugal saving of vegetables that probably would have just been tossed in the garbage because no one ate it. And so I put it in the fridge until it was long enough that I felt okay throwing it away. So those kind of figuring out the contingencies, the how to take the thinking out of menu planning. That's really what Simplified Dinners and Simplified Pantry is all about. Yeah. Planning for sides. It always seems like, well, I'll just get whatever is at the store. And I get things, and then it's not necessary, then I don't fix it. So actually having the plan, I think, saves us more money than if I go to the store without a plan, just going to buy whatever, is seasonal or on sale. No, the plan's already made. I'm just buying these things that I know we're going to eat. And I know that even if there are leftovers, even if I buy or make too many, I'll be able to use them. So that is, that has been really helpful. So, yeah, this has been fun, and it's great to see some of your dinner ideas. Also, I have a post about menu planning on Google Calendar, so you can go to simplifiedorganization.com and search menu plan with Google Calendar, and you can find that post. You can find out more about Simplified Dinners by clicking the green button, and that will explain what Simplified Dinners is all about. Oh, I just saw that I had a question down here. Okay, so menu planning 6 weeks at a time. I do have a post on that at Simplified Organization also. Menu plan 6 weeks at a time is the title. I've tried it before and multiple times, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't work, it's because I let myself look at it and decide whether or not I'm going to follow it, or I don't have a plan for getting, like I say, and 3 weeks from now, we're going to have, spinach salad, but then I end up not buying spinach at the store. So that didn't, when I was just kind of picking random things and just throwing them on the calendar. And then there would be reasons why it wouldn't work out once it popped up on the calendar. The way that I'm doing it now, where it's basically the same thing every week, I know what I need to get at the grocery store. I know that there's a plan for it. And I know these are things that people like to eat. Like I said, I already bought all the meat, so that's in the freezer. So for this season right now, where kind of my thinking brain needs to be used for other things, my energy needs to go towards other things, but I don't want to be, I'm not going to buy frozen pizza. So, my family's used to eating family meals with vegetables and a main course, and I don't want them to be used to anything else. That's what I want to do for dinner, but it can end up taking a lot of time and thinking and energy. So pulling in those kid dinner helpers and just picking everyone's favorite meals and making them over and over again is way better than the other options. So to have a 6-week menu plan that works, it helps when it's repetitive. So you know that you're going to get the things at the grocery store, even if it didn't make it onto the grocery list. And it helps if you're not just throwing random dinners onto that. You have some kind of method to the madness, even if it's like a soup. So say this week's soup doesn't work out, you're just going to swap it with next week's. And so that's where on Google Calendar, it's handy because you just drag them around. At one point this week, we were invited to a friend's house for dinner. So that day's dinner just kind of evaporates. I could, but I've already planned out for 6 weeks. I don't want to move it farther out than that. So, I just replace it, and meat's in the freezer, and it'll stay there. And like I said, if there are leftover vegetables, we'll just have them, now I have options for putting them in the freezer and having a use for them. So kind of thinking about all those contingencies has to go into it if you're going to plan far out in advance. How am I going to know that I'll have buy the right things at the grocery store at the right time? And do I know that my family will like to eat this? Do I have a plan for the leftovers? Can leftovers go in the freezer? And so I can kind of be building up a little supply. Right. Yeah. Sometimes the grocery store doesn't have what you were going to get. So it does take a little bit more thinking up front, but in the day-to-day, it takes less. So you could have a substitute, like if there isn't white sweet potato, you just get orange, maybe, or, replace cauliflower with broccoli, or, something like that, where you have an option where like, okay, this is the main plan, but if I can't get it, this is what we'll do instead. Or if sometimes, I might say usually I have extra time on Monday to make a coleslaw, but I know that the next Monday I'm not going to. And so I'll just get one of those bagged broccoli slaw things. And also just kind of, it does require flexibility a little bit, or you just thinking it through on paper in that kind of brain dumpy mode instead of, the 4 or 5 p.m. looking at what's in the cupboards, panicky mode. Way better to do that kind of thinking in brain dump mode ahead of time than in the late afternoon wondering, okay, what can I pull together? It happens. And that can be practice for being able to be flexible and pulling things together. That's good practice. So that's my idea right now for dinner simplification. And actually on Instagram right now, you can see a picture of my roast vegetables, which the other thing is they look really pretty too. So that's nice. Some blog posts on Friday. There's going to be a big blog post out on simplifiedorganization.com. So be watching for that. And there will be links to the menu planning posts that I've mentioned. Probably I'll include this video as well. But my best menu planning posts will be included, links to them will be included in this one that's coming up this week, because it's about how to organize life. So I can be pulling together stuff that I have written over the years into one place, and I hope it'll be super helpful.